Good morning, tree lovers. Thanks for looking in on the Geeko channel. Well, I'm still waiting for that sunny autumnal day, but in the meantime it's a rainy October day. Anyway, it's always a good time to be looking at trees, and particularly at this time of year with lovely autumnal foliage colour. And this one that I'm looking at just here over my left shoulder is the dawn redwood. It's another of my TreeO of sequoias. This one is called the dawn redwood then. It goes back to the dawn of time. It was thought to be extinct. It's also called the Metasequoia, glyptostroboides. Now Metasequoia means the next sequoia, and glyptostroboides, well, it means it's a little bit like the glyptostrobus, which is the Chinese swamp cypress. But this was just known from fossils, and it was quite different from those other trees. And then suddenly in the 40s a small glade was found in Hubei and Wuhan, and in a sense of great cooperation the seeds and the small cones were collected, distributed around the world, and this tree has now been brought back from the brink of extinction. You'll find it planted in lots of different regions. It withstands flooding quite well and drought. It's a brilliant, resilient tree in an urban setting, so you'll find it planted along strange rows and avenues in the middle of a housing estate, for example. The things to look out for then, and you can see it here, this lovely red flared and fluted base to the trunk. You've got deep sort of rivulets where the water runs down. It's really lovely one to sort of touch and just think about that sort of structure as it flares as it hits the ground. You'll also see fantastic foliage, and this foliage comes out in springtime. It's one of the very few deciduous conifers, a little bit like the larch, and when the leaves first come out they're in a little cluster, a little rosette like a larch, perhaps also a little bit like a cedar, but then it extends through into this long branchlet, and the little needles are strictly arranged in opposite pairs, left and right, as you go along. Now at this time of year they're beginning to turn a beautiful autumnal colour, and equally as those needles begin to fall you'll see small little male cones just forming where the needles have been nudged off, and it forms something that's quite reminiscent of a lovely catkin perhaps. The other thing to look out for are the cones. Now here's the cones. They're about the size of a big cherry, somewhat similar I think to the coastal redwood, but when you look square on you should see that the scales go 2 by 2 by 2, alternating at 90 degrees to form the letter, if you like, the letter X. And so we call this decussate, because dec and X have the same Latin and Greek derivative. Well, I hope that follows anyway. It's a beautiful tree, and you need to get out and find one over the next 4 or 5 weeks as they are displaying their fantastic autumnal colours. And I don't think you'll find that too difficult to spot one. They're along places in London, in most of the parks, in most of the squares along the embankment. They'll be in botanical gardens, in parks, in golf courses, and just have a little look at the autumnal colour that they're going to show us. And don't forget to subscribe to the Geeko.